So this video is going to take place of our usual class where we meet together and have live class. I'm out of the office this week for PSSA testing, so you'll find this on your calendar instead of the link to our live class. And there will be just a little wrap-up assignment for you to do in your Google Classroom, so you can access that once you watch this video. Today, we are going to start our discussion of states of consciousness. So we will be talking about that. This is kind of our next topic for the next few classes together. And so we'll start that out today when we talk about sleep, the sleep cycle, some problems with sleep and what can happen if you don't get enough of it. So we're going to start there today. But first, we'll kind of dive into what is consciousness. We talked a little bit about this when we talked about the psychoanalytic approach to personality. We talked about conscious and unconscious. Freud had a lot of ideas on that. Basically, what is consciousness? It's the awareness of things that are both inside and outside of ourselves. So consciousness is a psychological construct because it cannot be seen, touched, or measured directly. So this is not something that we can bring about ourselves. It can be linked with measurable behaviors like talking. That's kind of giving an idea of what's happening in our consciousness. Brain waves may also be measured, and so we can see that what's happening when people sleep or when people you're even awake, what's happening in the consciousness as well. But it cannot be measured directly. So we're going to talk about the sleep cycle now. And first we'll talk about circadian rhythm. If we break this word down, we can kind of see what it's all about. So circa, about, diem, day. So circadian rhythm is the kind of process or pattern that our bodies follow in the 24-hour period of night and day. There's different changes that happen. Our body temperature rises in the morning, peaks during the day, and drops in the evening. And this is kind of going to lead us into our talk about the stages of sleep. There are 5 stages of sleep. The first stage, stage 1, is the light sleep that we experience. It produces alpha waves typical of relaxation. Stages 2, 3, and 4 are deeper. During stages 3 and 4, our brain is producing delta waves. Stage 4 is the deepest sleep. That's the most difficult to wake from. This is when our body is really kind of recharging. So this stage 4 is vital for restoring our body's growth hormones and good overall health. We'll talk later about the implications of lack of sleep, but it's very, very important that we get to this deep sleep, this stage 4, so that our bodies can recharge. And like I said, that is really when we are kind of rebooting ourselves. So that's really important. And then the last final is the rapid eye movement or REM sleep, in which dreams and nightmares occur. After about 30 minutes of stage 4 sleep, we return to stage 3, then stage 2, then stage 1. And this is, like I said before, that cycle, that process takes just about 90 minutes to go through. So we're doing that several times during the night or during the process of our sleep. Another stage of sleep will begin, like I said before, that rapid eye movement. And you can see if you've seen someone kind of enter into this stage, the even when like the lids are closed, you can see the eyes moving rapidly under the eyelids. So this is a chart of what that sleep cycle is looking like in a typical person. Most people will go through the cycle 5 times in an 8-hour night. And as the night progresses, stage 3 and 4 become shorter. Remember, those are the really important kind of recharging cycles, those later ones. And the REM sleep becomes longer. And you can see that these brain waves are shown what that looks like in each of those stages. So stage 4, these are kind of what our brain waves are looking like. In the REM, or when we're awake, this is what it looks like. In the REM, this is what it looks like. So you can see that we're spending more and more time as the night goes on in the REM stage, less time in the deeper sleep. Some people only getting to this stage 4 once or twice in the in the process of the night. So that's kind of what that looks like in graph form. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, REM, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that's kind of how it goes, down, back up. So some sleep problems. Insomnia is probably one that you're familiar with, have heard about before. This is the inability to sleep. The most common type of insomnia is difficulty in falling asleep. So even entering into that sleep pattern is the most common type. Many psychologists believe that the best way to overcome insomnia doesn't involve medication. They first recommend using relaxation techniques, doing things like establishing regular routines, bedtimes, using pleasant images to relax. Our bodies can become accustomed to medications used for insomnia, and it can cause them to not work as well, and we can become dependent on those. So many times we'll suggest first trying those kinds of techniques to rectify the insomnia. Another type of sleep problem, which you might have experienced before, are nightmares and night terrors. Like I said before, nightmares are a product of REM sleep, so that's when that's coming into play. That's when that's happening. People who are anxious or depressed are more likely to have nightmares. It's not, causation, it's not you're anxious and depressed, so you get nightmares, but in people who are anxious, who have anxiety and depression, they experience nightmares more often than people who are not. Night terrors are similar to nightmares, but they are more severe. Night terrors tend to occur during deep sleep. So whereas nightmares are in that REM cycle, night terrors tend to occur during those later stages, that deep sleep. Sleepwalking. Many children experience sleepwalking and often will outgrow it as they mature. Sleep apnea is a breathing interruption that occurs during sleep. About 10 million Americans have sleep apnea. And lastly, narcolepsy is a very rare sleep problem. It's not as common as one might think. Narcolepsy is where people would suddenly fall asleep no matter what time of day it is or where they are. It can be dangerous because it is, it can be unpredictable. And it's believed to be a genetic disorder of REM sleep functioning. So that is narcolepsy. Oops. We'll watch this video here on, this is from Inside Edition about a narcoleptic dog.
He gives new meaning to the phrase dog tired, the narcoleptic poodle who falls asleep at the drop of a hat. Paul Boyd reports the pass-out pooch is something of a medical mystery.
Skeeter is a small dog with a very big problem. No matter how much he struggles to stay awake, he can't. For this 11-pound toy poodle, almost every moment is a disturbing, losing battle with the urge to sleep. There he goes, out cold. Skeeter has narcolepsy, an uncontrollable urge to sleep. Skeeter's struggles to stay awake are heartbreaking for his family, the Hendersons of Chubbuck, Idaho. His narcolepsy is triggered by excitement, so he can be out for an afternoon walk and just fall asleep sitting up. The tail-wagging prospect of jumping up on Shari Henderson's lap suddenly sets Skeeter snoozing.
Oh. He's miserable. He looked like he was a prisoner in his body. He was like, please help me. You know, I'm trapped in this little furry white shell.
When the Hendersons' grandson comes to play, Skeeter plays dead. Strangely, when Skeeter can be kept calm, that's when he seems able to stay alert. But nothing's more exciting for a dog than food. So to keep him awake long enough to eat, he has to be constantly petted and stroked. Otherwise, he's off in mid-bite.
I was just stunned that I had a narcoleptic dog in my hospital.
Skeeter's condition is so rare and so little is known about doggy narcolepsy that America's top vets are studying this home video of his symptoms.
It's not particularly unpleasant for the dog, except that he can't live a normal life. He just cannot be a dog.
He's being treated with antidepressants designed for humans. But so far, well, watch for yourself.
In the beginning, the excitement over food would put Skeeter to sleep, but then he got worse, and now just about any kind of excitement puts him under. Later in the show, we'll meet another dog who is known as the world's tallest dog.
Okay, so that's a kind of exaggerated example. You could see what it looks like in an animal, but again, that's not a super common sleep disorder to have. Lastly, we're going to talk about sleep deprivation. So what can happen? What are the effects that sleep deprivation can have on the body? There are, just like stress, several things that can happen if a person does not get enough sleep. It can lead to different kinds of mental states like fatigue, drowsiness, irritability. It can also contribute to physical symptoms like weight gain, heart disease, other kinds of ailments that are very, very serious. And studies also show a link between lack of sleep and increased rates of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, blood pressure, and stroke. So over the lifespan, it's very important to make sure that you're getting regular amounts of sleep and you're getting enough sleep each night. For teenagers need about 9.2 hours of sleep a night. Many high school students get a lot less than that a night, and lack of adequate sleep can put teenagers at risk for weight gain, poor school performance, car accidents, alcohol abuse, and drug abuse. So it's very important, physically to get enough sleep, but also so that you are able to be successful in your day-to-day lives. Sleep can play a huge role in that. So that's it for today's information. Like I said before, on your Google Classroom, there is a little assignment for you to complete. Once you've watched this video, you'll be prepared to complete that. So go ahead onto your Google Classroom and do that assignment. If you have questions, you can email me. I'll be checking my email in probably the evenings, maybe throughout the day a little bit, so I can get back to you as soon as I can. And again, make sure that you're completing your Acellus on days on Monday, Wednesday, or on Tuesday and Thursday, Friday this week. You'll want to be on step 130 by the end of this week.